Hi there BookTube, this is my first video in a new review discussion kind of book series where I just posted my separate video announcing this entire series, so please check out that if you want to know more about what this little part of the title is about and what the series will be including and be all about. So I will link that video in the info card and in the more info bar down below. So now let's talk about the book we are here to discuss today, and that is A Girl is a Half-Formed Thing by Amy McBride. This is a book about a young woman's relationship and her family life with her brother who had a brain tumor as a child, and because of that their entire childhood was very, let's call it difficult, I think is the best word to describe how her life growing up was. And this girl has a really hard home life, not just because of her brother and his illness, but also because she is constantly and in every form imaginably abused. She is physically beaten down, she is emotionally and mentally beaten down, she is sexually abused and just generally put down in any way there is to put down a human being. So I expected, from what I know about this book, from the summary of the book I just told you, that this book would be a hard-hitting story. Maybe having to take this book slower, because sometimes with books that have those types of harder topics, I have to take a little breather in between reading them so that I can, I guess digest is a good word to say, the harder hitting parts of a story, because this is not a book that you expect to go in and get a light contemporary book that is all laughter and sunshine and happy family life. You go into this book expecting it to be hard, and that you read it and you have to stop and think about what you've read and have to maybe sit down and just appreciate what you have in your life, because this book clearly shows a way harder life than you hopefully had growing up. I didn't go into this book expecting to have the easiest time reading it, but sadly this book was especially hard to read because the writing is just very strange. At first, when I started to read this book, I thought maybe this was some strange kind of poetry, where the author tried to put you into the head of the main character and just showcase you how different she is. So she wrote it in this very strange, not really poetry, because you don't see a rhythm and you don't really get into what is happening. Because even though I don't understand or like this kind of writing style, I do understand why the author might write it like this, because sometimes it works if an author gives you a couple of chapters in this strange style, because it gives you an in-depth view into this very disturbed character's head. It shows you how they see the world, how they kind of experience the world around them. And because this character is completely abused and beaten down, she clearly doesn't see and experience the world around her as we do. So we are transported into her head in a very disturbed, maybe even slightly crazy, but definitely chaotic head of this main character. And it makes sense to have some part of the story be written in a way that you don't really understand what is going on and why is it written like this and what is it trying to tell me. And so I understand why, for example, she starts the book out with, "For you, you'll soon, you'll give her name, in the stitches of her skin she'll wear, you'll say, Mama, me, yes you, bounce the bed, I'll say that what you did, then lay you down, they cut you round, wait an hour and day." And that is the first little paragraph up here in the book. So when I started this and read it, I thought, okay, she's doing what I just said, that she's putting you into the head of the character, which is a fantastic way to start a book. But the second part, which starts after this chunk, this is the first part and the second part starts here. That part starts out with the beginning of teens us. 13 me, 15, 16 you. Wave and wave of it hormone over. Like hot flush, cold splash down my neck. Split with new thoughts, troublesome that is, and things that always must be said. Spill it out, spill it down. Which is once again this first little paragraph. So the entire book is written in this kind of writing style. And I felt like the writing kept getting worse and worse, and actually saying what the heck was going on and what it was trying to say to me, and just gone that far into not being understandable that I just felt like I needed a telescope to see what the heck was going on. Now I understand, as I said, where the author might choose to write parts of the book like that, because sometimes it works. In this book it didn't, because the author didn't write an actual novel. Basically she wrote very chaotic, and disturbing thoughts down in a very incoherent way. She doesn't really make sense, but she put it all together and called it a book, and that was it. Basically, that is how it felt. She didn't really write anything that worked together in my option. She made it chronologically. We follow the little girl up to she's a specific age, and that is the only order in this book. Everything else just doesn't really make a huge amount of sense. And for me, this book would have and could have been such a powerful and important book to read about this type of topic if it would have actually been written. And if you read this and loved it, fantastic, good for you. Maybe you can explain to me what the heck this book was trying to tell me with this kind of writing, because for me it is not worth the hype or to be read at all. Sadly, there are just other books that handle this kind of abusive topic way better, in a much easier to read and understand and just more relatable way, that you can actually feel for the character, that you can actually learn from the characters, that you can put yourself basically in the shoes of that character and feel with them what they're going through. In this book, I could not, and quite honestly, I don't really see and how people can recommend this book, because I actually do not think that this very strange writing style that for me was really hard to read and understand is something that most people read and love and understand. Let's be honest, most people are very similar to me. They read a book to read something that is written how we talk. Maybe a bit more sophisticated, maybe a bit more overarching, maybe a bit more rambly. All in all, we read books to have them be pretty easy to understand. I don't see how people could have enjoyed this if there are not readers that normally love and read constantly this kind of more poetic writing style, but there is no rhyme or reason to this writing style, so at least not that I could find. So I didn't understand this book. I didn't understand how so many people can say they love it, and I think the snippets I read you out of this book show a good view into what this book and the writing style in it is. So if you can understand from the little snippets I read you why this book is so popular, please let me know and explain it to me. I don't get it. And so clearly, sadly, this book did not work for me at all. Did not, because it just is very strange and different, not in a good way, sadly. As I said, if you love this book, great. Kudos to you. You must be way more intelligent than I am, because I did not get it. It was one of the biggest fails I came across in a long time. I'm stop my rambling and raving about this book and just say, good if you loved it. I don't recommend it if you have not read it. And if you didn't like the snippets I read you, don't pick it up. Not worth your time. Pick something else. And with that, I'm going to stop this video. As always, I would love to hear what you guys thought about the book if you read it, or if you plan to read it after this video, or if you don't plan to read it after this video. Please let me know. If you read it and understood this book and thought it was beautiful, please let's talk about it in the comments. I would love to hear about it. I would love to know what you loved about it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you in my next one. Bye!